Right. Oh, good lord. Load. Alright, what's up, guys? Live for yet another day, fortunately. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and show you um, what I've been working on. I'll get ahead and show you what I've been working on for the from last night through to today. I hadn't meant to do so much off screen, but I ended up doing quite a bit off screen, and I'm quite disappointed because I didn't record it and I didn't stream it. But whatever else I can do, I will try to upstream. I'm gonna work on a 3D environment that I've been working on from last night. But that world scene I was telling you guys about that I wanted to edit of the Earth, I did so. I do want to add a moon to my scenario, so I guess we can do that together. I'll add the moon. I may try and add a bit more glow to the world because, as good as it looks, I'm still not fully satisfied with it yet. And I will also get back to my other 3D environment, add a few bits and bobs into there for the comic, and then I'll get back to the draft pages. So yeah, I'll get everything loaded up now. I think I'll lower the music in the meantime as well, just to help me showcase. So this is where we are. This is what we got to. I created the world again, and I put some stars in the background. I might actually try and get some more stars in the background, but I'm not sure yet. I want to get some twinkly stars. I would love to have a few shooting stars. There's actually a goal that I need, which is to have a particle system going on where I have, it looks like I want to have stardust like shooting towards the world, beating off the world, or the ozone layer, as like from the solar storm. But I want to show it in a fashion that looks relatively fine. So I'll show you the two renders that I did, which will be quite important as we work. I'll put this onto this thread just to make workflow easier. Alright, so this was the first render that I did of my world. And as you can see, it's a lot better. I was able to fix the ozone layer as it fades off into the darkness. I want to get a bit more of a glow on this front piece here. They say gases are not visible in most cases, but what I want to do is make my gas, my oxygen, my argon, I don't know if we've got carbon dioxide out there, up that high, that is, and etc. But what I want to do is I want to try and add a little glow at the on the equator of this planet, just to emphasize the heat and the light, the gamma rays, and the gammas and the ultraviolet. I want to show where the light is actually making contact on the world, and where it does make contact, I want that bit of the ozone layer or the atmosphere. I want it to glow and kind of like stretch out. Now I think I know how to do that to make it stretch out and have that little glow. I think I would need a Fresnel or a Fresnel node, and I think I may need a emission. I could be wrong there, but I think that's what I may need. So I do want to problem solve. I do want to problem solve and try and find my way around because, like I said, this render engine is not the engine that I'm used to using. Also, what I want to do as well is I want to get the moon in the background, so we can try and work on that now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the image that I had before this one, the render that I had beforehand, which was it looks good, you know. Okay, well, it looks neat. I didn't think it was going to look that good. But as you can see, all the stars are the same size, roughly. A lot of them are kind of like slightly smaller in size, but the stars are like a lot bigger. But as you come over to here, the stars are smaller. Some of them might have a bit of size to them, but majority of them are a lot smaller from the previous image. This helps to give range and depth. And I'm going to show you how I did that now. So how I did that was, I'll show you here on my render. I'll let you see how it loads up, and this is how it loads up. And, this is because I'm working on my MacBook as well, MacBook Pro. So it loads, and it's going to take a while for the stars to load up. So while it loads, I'll have a little conversation with you guys. So what I decided to do was, when I had that issue, what I was telling you about yesterday with the ozone layer, aka the atmosphere, I said to myself, there's only so few ways that I could tackle this. So I created a bunch of nodes and I tried to see which path would lead me as close as possible to the direction that I wanted to go to my goal. And a few paths did open up a way for me, and I took advantage of those paths. I believe a few of those nodes that I used were, if I was I used a gradient node. I believe I used a Fresnel. I used the glass node in order to make the atmosphere more transparent. To be 100% honest with you, to get that fade going around the world, from the dark side to the light side, that was almost accidental. I say almost accidental because it was a goal that it was, it was an achievement that I was heading for, but I got there in a way that I wasn't fully sure that I was going to make. It was I knew that it was a path that I had to take, but I didn't think that I was going to be so successful so quickly. Unfortunately, I was, so it was also to my surprise. So as you can see, I achieved it. What I haven't done is diluted the clouds. If you ask me, the clouds are a bit too prominent, and I don't really like that feature. So I want to get, especially as the light's kind of hitting on. I mean, I know they're hard gases, meaning that they're visible, and whether or not they will have center on what they plainly got textures, you can probably feel the cloud if you rub your hand through the mist. So it's like a heavy, dense gas, as it were. But even so, what I would like to do is nullify the visual effects to dampen the effects of its visual prominence. And in order to do so, I will use a transparency node. Simple as, and I will connect it to another node that will help me to gain sliders over that transparency if I'm unable to use the transparency sliders in order to adjust the transparency strength. So anyway, I'll proceed. I may add a little bit of stardust, like a nebulae, to this as well. But at the moment, I'm satisfied with the kind of deep space look. As you can see, I've got my space station above, and the significance of everything to do with that space station will be brought out in due time with the novels. So you have to be a bit patient for that. I mean, I could go ahead and tell you all sorts of stuff, but then what room would there be for taking on knowledge yourself? It's a bit more fun when you're able to read through something and be enlightened to it's always being told before the information is placed in front of you. So now what I will do is, as everything is loaded up and you can see the stars, I will show you how I created the stars, which was an easy process. Can be quite technical if you're not fully sure with what you're doing or if you're quite new to the engine. But once you're quite familiar with the engine, it makes it a lot easier. So I did the stars, and how I did so was this orange box that you can see in the background highlighted. This is just simply a flat plane. And upon that flat plane, I put a particle system. And this particle system is reading 3 pairs of objects that are paired into a collection of their own, which you may see at the right side of the screen in the in the last box, highlighted white. In that box, it's called particle colors. I will show you the particles and also the colors you can see before you. The 3 colors I chose were blue, red, and white. I could have used yellow, but you practically get yellow through the red spectrum. And because of the diverse mixtures of colors, when you're looking at a certain color, your brain may be somewhat tricked into believing that a distant color looks yellow as it reaches your eye span, similar to the wavelength of light. So I depended on that rather than actually going ahead and putting the yellow color. What I used white, obviously, and I used red as the slowest moving light spectrum, I believe that's correct. And then I've got the blue one as well. You don't really see much blue stars, but the goal behind that one was to make them twinkle. I mean, what I could do is lighten their luminosity, but at the moment I think I'll just leave as is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I was able to achieve this look. So what I did, I'm going to go into this mode just to make it easier for me to move around. As you can see, this is a flat plane. And if you look closely, you can see all the particles on the flat plane. Then what I did was I used these 3 objects as the particle system, and these are the colors that enable the particles to have colors. So here's the white one, there's the blue one, and there's the red one. After I colored them, I paired them up into a collection, and after placing them into the collection, that's when I went into the particle system and applied these 3 particles, these 3 objects to the particle system in order to show up on my background plane. So that's how I was able to achieve that. And then obviously to get the deep space look, it's just an illusion, as you can see. Yes, if I was to turn on the render from here, you will see that everything is black. And that's because I set my world settings to black. If I wanted to, what I could have done was put the whole world into a box like this. I will show you. Give me a second. If I wanted to, I could have employed a cube. I could have enlarged the cube. I could have set my camera inside that cube. Give us a second. Anyway, you kind of get the gist. I could have set my camera inside the cube. I could have painted the cube black. Because if I come here, it's going to look grey, as you can see. So if I go into this cube and use my render camera, to be honest, I thought I would be able to see my world. I cannot. So I'm going to switch to this mode. Alright, so this is, oh, that's why I do it outside the cube. The cube, as you can see, my world is now inside the cube. The reason why the cube is showing up black in the render is because it's picking up the environment, the color of the environment. That's how it works on this. So if I was to come here, create a new shade, and we'll go ahead, create a new one. I don't like creating new colors when I don't need them. And go into edit mode and assign that to this. And then I go back into this mode. Well, we were looking at that before. We have a white box. So if I go into the box, give us a second. To be honest with you, I'm not fully too sure why inside the box, but I'm not sure why it's showing black. I guess it's because we're inside a dark room, so I'll have to employ light. Which would obviously help. Oh yeah. I've got a lot of information on this computer at the moment, not just this program that's running with all my information, but also a lot of save files. So I can only assume that's why everything's running so slow. Anywho, so I'll turn this up to about 10,000. See you later, Dad. Alright, so as you can see, we've got the world inside the box, which is awesome. Give me a moment. Alright, so we have the world inside the box, and we now have this glow. This glow would somewhat have us. It would play the effect of the sun. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the box to black, and via doing that, it looks like if we was to go from a certain angle or a certain point, it would look like the Earth is floating in space. Then I could have done the same principle, which is if I go into my render camera now, as you can see, it looks like Earth is in space. And then I would just simply create the same particle system to fill the box, and it would look like the Earth is in a 3D dimensional space system. And because everything's black, you're not necessarily particularly going to see the what would you see? You're not necessarily particularly going to see the corners of the box. It would just look like you're just in one huge dimension, just like a vacuum. So anyway, that aside, we'll delete this. And we'll move on to the other part. Alright, so what else did I want to show you? Oh, I wanted to show you how I did. Well, so I'll go into this mode. I'll come over here. Alright, so here's my world. We'll get a nice little close up of this. So as you can see, I was able to fix the ozone layer, aka the outpost, and it looks pretty darn neat. So what I'm going to do is show you how I was able to do so. I'm going to show you how and where I placed my nodes. I will try and clean it up at a later date, but I'm not going to do it now. If I get this out of the way. Oops, I'll click this. Okay, so here we are. So here's my node system. So as you can see, I'm using a load of mix shaders. I've tried to apply it as a math node to my shaders. I set it to less than to see if that would have helped. What that helped was to keep my atmosphere it made it look kind of at this transparency and the right shade of color, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to go and test that now, just to highlight it. I could be wrong because it looks like I ain't played around with values, but I'm going to go ahead and test it out now. And well, I've got it connected to at least. Let me quickly see what I've got it selected to the glass. I've got it selected to the glass, connected to the glass, and I've got it connected to a lip shader, which is connected to the gloss. Yeah, so that should be it. It should be affecting the atmosphere. So as you can see, it looks like I believe it looks like it has. Before the atmosphere was just that bit more transparent. Now it looks a bit smudged, like it's got a blur effect on it. So I'll let it load, and then I'll go back to, let me see. Alright, let's set back to its original settings. I've got a fresh one here set to my emissions. If I'm not mistaken, that didn't really do much. What I was hoping this would have done was created a light spill that would have collected data from the source of light as a reflection post. With that, what I was hoping to do was plug it into the emission in order to amplify that information of light. I was trying to play around with the object index, but I wasn't getting anywhere with that either. What's going on? So I wasn't getting anywhere with the object data either. If I also grab the object data back, I tried to put the object data into the glossy node in order to see if it would affect the gloss in any the light in there in any way. But I didn't really find nothing. Nothing was really helping at this stage. So this bit I think I can kind of get rid of. because it didn't get me anywhere. This is the fun part with playing around with your 3D platform, trying to find the right source. I'll call it the right source code. Trying to find the right path to meeting your end goal or your end game. So the end game would be your output, and from your output, you work kind of like in a backwards format, and you keep connecting things until you find something that actually, spells the word that you're looking for. If you couldn't find it in the first place. So what I used this for, the RGB, was to keep the consistency or the color range of the what do you call this, of the atmosphere. The reason being is because I tried to put in an ambient occlusion, and I will show you why I use ambient occlusion in a few moments when I upload my other files. So I'll show you what the RGB does. If I click a darker blue, the ozone layer is going to go to a darker color. So I click here and we'll see that effect take. Just got to wait for it to load a bit because the MacBook, I don't think it will. It used to work fine, but it can't really take on so much stresses anymore. Like I said, that looks good, but I didn't want to go with that feature. That looks really good. But I wanted to go with a lighter color, as this is for the comic book, and this looks a bit too realistic. And that's not the look that I'm really going for. So, but that's a look that you can go for if you wanted that one. So, we'll bring this. I mean, I could go for the purple color. That's all the RGB did. If I pull the RGB out, we go to like a grey color of the atmosphere, which obviously I didn't want. So you can see now it's like purple. So I'm going to plug this out and we go to the color of the ambient. But the thing is if I'm not mistaken, when I change the color of the ambient occlusion, it remained as is, and I wasn't getting no differentiation with the colors, which is why I employed the RGB. Let me give this a quick test actually to see if we get anywhere with this. Okay, it seems to be giving me the color range. Previously, when I tried to use it, it weren't giving it to me. So I felt like the only way to get around it was to get the RGB. But seeing as that's working, I don't need to use the RGB anymore. Because the RGB literally is just a color node. So I'll put this somewhere between here. And I decided to settle for a kind of lighter blue. The reason being is because it's an oxygen-rich world, and I'm going for a time of a past period as to a time of now. Even though I'm setting my my work in the future. You know what? That don't look as good to me. Let me let it load. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too satisfied with how that's looking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and put this back where it was, and I think I'll stick with my my RGB node. Then what I tried to do was I tried to use the color ramp system in order to help with the range of lights. The reason why I did this was because I hoped it would have helped with the Fresnel. But again, all this stuff are the Fresnel. Let's see. This is Fresnel. So I figured it would have helped with the Fresnel, which is why I employed the Fresnel, and then I put the gradient in. I don't think the gradient is the cause, but I put the gradient in order to help get the that 3D feature. Give me a second to get that dissolving feature from a light um, atmosphere into pitch blackness, which I think I achieved, but I'm not sure. I think that was a bit where it was kind of iffy because I don't think the gradient played a role in that feature, and I will try and see if I'm correct in believing so by plugging the what's this one called again? The mapping node directly into. I think it's possible to do this. Right? Plugging it directly into here. We'll see what this does. It looks like it's done something different. We'll let it load. And as well, what I found was before I added a particle system to the plane behind, playing the role as the stars in deep space, I had it as like a kind of lighter object. And when I rotated the plane at a certain angle, it gave the effect that my world Earth was giving off the the shadow effect in space, like it was leaving its shadow trailing behind it in space, which was also good. So that's something I might try to use for a later date, but I won't try to use it now. So anyway, as you can see, without the gradient, we get a bit more of a rougher look. You get a nice see-through here of the glass, and then as we come up here, which is kind of what I was going for, but it's like it comes all the way around, and then up here it's like another separate tone. And so I set my gradient to spherical, and I did this, and as a result, we get a better feed. I'll just wait for it to load up. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a better texture that wraps around the wand. It just looks a lot better this way. What else did I do? All these, we got the diffuse. I turned the roughness way down. That also controls something else. We got the layer weight. So it's the same method that I showed you before, but I applied a hell of a lot more to it in order to try and achieve a bit more closer to what I wanted, rather to what would have been ideal for a general use. So as I've gotten a step closer, I'll probably work on this tonight, and if I do, I'll invite you guys in to see how I go about tackling this problem also. So yeah, so that's practically my node setup in order to create a replication or replica of Earth. What I do want to do, however, now that I'm here, if I can, is I want to try and make the water world a bit brighter in order to work a bit better with the ozone layer or the atmosphere. It's the bad thing about working on this. It takes so long to load. So I believe this was the ocean. And we set to invert. I think what I will try to do is, because this is inverting information from back here, which I believe was the light. We didn't want to light the land, so we lighted up the ocean, and we had to use an invert to switch the light from reflective of the land to reflective to the ocean. So if I leave that information here, I'm hoping if I get an RGB, let's see if that's possible. If I get an RGB, I don't know if this is going to work. Let's try mix. Maybe, may not, maybe, may not. I'll try and plug this into here. And I can see that it's got its own color system. So I'll try and use its own color system. If I put it before the invert, I would assume that it would act inversely to what I'm trying to achieve. So first I'll try it this way, and then I'll do the other way and see if that works. If it doesn't, we'll move on to the next because I don't want to spend too long on this. So I would like to set this up opening, but we're going to take this and we're going to move it to like a lighter blue. I would think I'd have to change it to down underneath the world, but I will test it here first. This is why I want to move on to last thing. Yeah, that's not working. And also we get real slow load times. Okay, this is something I'm going to have to come back to because the patience of waiting on this thing to load is a bit beyond me at the minute. I was actually thinking of setting this to like maybe overlay. Maybe then I can see what it's trying to do. If this don't work, we'll get back to this later. But not like it's working, so we'll get back to this later. Maybe later tonight. Meantime, what I do want to do is I want to grab this, which is looking awesome. I'm in my render camera. I want to lower it to about there. Then what I want to do is I want to go here and get a sphere. I just want to create something relatively basic for now. Lighting should be so. Where's the render camera? We have the render camera here. I'll say that's relatively nice size. I'll probably get it about there. And probably pump it back a little bit more. I don't want it to interacts with my particle system. So if I get it about here, and I can grab here, we'll come over here, and then I can go back into Render. I can easy. Probably exaggerate the size. Probably a little bit smaller. Well, it's actually really a hell of a lot bigger than the space station. But the space station has really got to be a hell of a lot smaller in order to make it a bit more believable. So that will kind of do it. So now we also come here. That's actually the space of the size of the space station to the moon. Pretty neat. So you can see if I was to grab this and bring it back to the moon. You can see it's a lot smaller than the moon. Still want it to be a bit smaller than that. Right there. Then what we can do is bring it back to the mod. It is a fun bit because now we get to see if we can see it from our render camera. And now it's time. We can just about see it. So if we go into render mode, now we get something that looks a bit more like so. Got our first star, we got our space station, and we got our moon. I'll give it a minute to load up, see if any stars actually begin to pop up. And then I'm going to add a little node system to the moon to give it a bit more of a glow. To be honest with you, what I could have done was use the Earth, but I'll try and use the moon and see what I can't do with that. What I do need to do is I need to come here for me, because it's no longer the size of my render camera, so I've got to scale this up. go to the particle system, make sure if it's still running. Because I haven't been seeing anything in front of me. Alright, so I'll turn this on. There we go, looks like we're back on. To be honest with you, I could just leave the moon as is. The space station looks pretty funny now, but oh, I tell you what, I have forgotten. Now I could leave the moon like that, kind of deformed, which I think the moon kind of would be that way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add subsurface. Wrong place. I'm going to turn it up to about 3 to make it real smooth. I'm going to do the same for the render so I see what I'm looking at. Let's go wait for it to load up. This is why I prefer working on my desktop because I'm able to get a lot more done a lot quicker. Oh wait, there we go. Set that to 3 and do the same for this. And I want apply. Then I'll simply don't need to click here. Right. I'll wait for it to apply. I will go ahead and shade smooth. And now we'll be looking at a moon that is a bit more round, considering the distance we are from planet Earth. We're probably about the same distance the moon is away from the Earth with our camera as the moon is away from the Earth. Distance within 3D space and time. So, what I will do now you can see the particle system. The particle system doesn't seem to be properly up. The particle system, I'm going to set to move this. Use. So I believe that should be active again. But if not, totally fine. I mean, I can see the particles, but they're just not activated as they should be. But again, totally fine. Sometimes what you got to do is flick like a setting where it is, and then like it will kind of activate again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and create a glow for moon. There she is. So I've got the moon. I'm going to go ahead and click. Oh, you know what it could be as well. With this thing, what I might need to do is apply its lock. And then I will take this and I'll do the same with this one actually. And then because it's got its simple shadow system, do you know what I'm thinking? I think I might just go ahead and give it its own personal color system. Grab this, lower it down, we'll get a diffuse. I think this is the way I'm going to go about it. Over here, quite simply, I'll get my emission, plug that in. That's not going to work. So what I need to get rid of this, you might say I don't need to do this, but I might need to use a gradient for later. So it just helps cut time. It's trying to think ahead of the game. There we go, there's the stars, so they're beginning to load up again. Sleepy heads. So now I've done that, I can get this into here. And you can see now that shadow is gone. So that's what I want to work on. And if I'm able to achieve that here, then I will know how to do it on my world node. At least my world node system. At least I'll have a better idea of how to do so. So now what I need, and I can see for sure, is gradient. Yeah, this should work. And then from gradient, Control T, it should bring up the simple formula. I'll connect this into here. I was thinking I was going to need to get like another mix shade, but seems fine. It's like, or a mix RGB, but seems fine. It wouldn't work, but you know, color. It seems neat. And then what I will do is I'll change this to spherical. And we're back in business. I'll put it here. So now what I will do is I will up the strength to about 5. And now I guess what I could do on doing that is kind of giving me a hit because well, I don't really like playing with the gradient. What I could do is play around with this and move the lighting back, but I'm not going to do that because that's not what my main achievement goal is here. It could have something to do with this shader, so if I lower the value, I might be able to get something a bit closer to home. Something a bit more like that. And hopefully that didn't play with the value of my dimension. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my sun and I'm going to turn its strength up a little bit more. Again, sorry for the load times, guys. I'm having to work on my MacBook at the moment. And so due to that, I'm unable to work at a speed efficiency that I'm more used to or familiar with. But hopefully, you can cope with me for once. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn up the strength of my sun to about 8. 8,000 should be about good. This should help bring out the shine of that moon. It might give us deeper shadows, but I'm hoping it doesn't blot out the lights of my particle system. Okay, so we've got the effect of the sun now, so it's a lot brighter than it was um, prior to, obviously, by turning up its strength. So now the goal is to create a second moon system. I may not need to do it, but what I'm going to do is create like a thin, like the a thin atmosphere or a thin ozone layer. We'll call it an atmosphere. It's been said that the moon's been um, witnessed to have like a small atmosphere. So we'll use that analogy, that theory is fact. Some people might say, why would you call it a theory? The reason being is because I would assume, not that I've been told or anything, but if the moon is so bright and we can only see it from one perspective, which is the brightest side, how is it possible to see if the moon has an atmosphere or not? So on that myself, I would call it a theory. I wouldn't know, but we've been told that it does have one. So if anyone says, "Oh, the moon doesn't have this" or "the moon doesn't have that," I'm just going along with the fairy guys, so don't take it out on me. I'm just a messenger here. I also got to thinking about the moon. I said, as you can see here, in fact, I'll do this first and then I'll talk. Well, it's yeah. I'll bring the camera out and then I'll go into my theory about my own personal theory that I thought up about the moon and my um, unsurety, I would say, if the moon is actually an ice ball or if it could be something else. But before I go into that, I'll try and work on this best I can if this allows me to. So, so I'm back in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to make workflow quicker and easier. And I'm going to duplicate this sphere rather. Then I'm going to scale it up. Click scale. Scale it, and we're going to bring it to about here. Maybe not so big, but pretty big. Then we're going to go back into the node system. The unfortunate thing about this is we're going to get a lot of slow time. So depending on how quick or slow this thing operates with me, will depend on the fact of if I'll proceed yes or no. We're going to have to go into this mode. Because now what I'm going to have to do is create a transparency layer upon my moon in order to have this bit here see-through. And to do that, and then I may even go ahead and add a Fresnel in there. But we'll go ahead and get transparent. We got it because it's not. So somewhere here, I need to get this, duplicate it. I will think duplicate it via the emission. Give me a second. Would it be the emission or would it be the diffuse? I think it would be the diffuse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it here. Fine. No, it would be the emission, wouldn't it? Maybe both. It might be a bit hard to see because I've got like everything set down there to the same color. But I can see that's incorrect. Then we'll go ahead and plug this back into here. I'm going to get rid of this one. I'm going to enlarge this. Oops. I'm going to enlarge it to about here. This way I can see when I've actually created the effect I'm going for. Oh wait, no. I think the transparent goes like ahead of the game. I think it's going to go here. Let's get a mix shader. And then we'll plug this into here. I can see it. I can see the underlayer. Okay, so far so good. What I'm going to do is play around with this, but I don't think this is what we're looking for. Yeah, no, that's not it. So we'll put this to 0.5. Alright, so put this back to like 1. And this is how I usually go about with it. I will play around with some of the nodes and some of the features, and I will see which one needs adjusting. So we'll go like 4. Some of it goes off by memory, but I tend to find it doesn't always go that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get the gradient. I'm going to plug this in. That's very cool. We're going to bring this down to 0.3. I'm thinking there's another node that I'm missing, but I ain't gonna go back to the the world. Um, I'll just quickly give it a fly around and see if I can't find anything. Transparency. What else might help with transparency? Don't believe we'll need these, but I'm gonna drop it in there anyway. We've got those, and we've got a transparent. The only thing I can think of is like a math node. I'll go over here, like maybe a maths. And maybe plug that into here. And then change this to something like overlay. Maybe even hard. Overlay over here. No, we don't. So we'll try subtract. What's this? Emission into here. Let's turn this up to map 0.5. Alright, so we don't want to play around with that too much because now we're getting like a little bit of fade out. So if I come up to here and I click 0.1, I'm guessing we're going to get more fade. So we're going to put this back to like about 0.5. Is it 0.5? 0.1. We'll go back 0.3. 3.5 maybe. Alright, so back to square one. I think these. I could try and play with the value, see what happens. Figure it's just going to darken it. So put this back to 0.5. The goal, what I'm looking for obviously is the transparency. And then I want the outer shell to play the role of the shine of the moon, like an extra shine. But in order to do this, I've got this plugged into here. If I plug this out, we lose that shadow, don't we? No, we don't. So I'm going to plug this factor into here, and maybe that might work. No. Because what's happening now is we're losing our. I've lost. Keep that out for a minute. So I don't want to get too confused. And I'll probably put it back on in a sec. I can see that there's a crest, which means I'm probably seeing beneath. Let's click the middle again. Go out. We'll just play around with it just for a little while. I think I can see like the ball at the end. The transparency. What if I ask about the transparency first? Alright, so we got some better results. Like I said, I think I might get back to this because I don't want to be here like all day just playing around with this. At least not for now. I might have a bit of fun doing it later on tonight, so we can, play the Spider-Man effect together and see what we can come up with. And hopefully, I'll be able to get it done by the end of the night, before tomorrow. Let's see what this does. I think that's it. I'm not sure, but well, I thought I could see a ball beneath, but it seems like I cannot. The only thing I can think of at this stage would be to play around with the emission. If I turn the emission strength up to about 10, I think it's going to make it darker, but so it's so done. So I'll move it to about 0.5. See what that does. You know what I could do? Put the transparency to these guys. I know there'd be a way to get this done. Yeah, there would be. Here. Oh, come on. Alright. If I put this here, what I'll do is I'll get a mixed RGB. This computer does not want me to be successful today, and if it does, it's really making me work for it. So I'm going to put that there, and we're going to put this gradient out of business for a little while. We're going to grab transparent out of there for a little while, because the goal is not necessary, even though that was it, but I'm going to see if there's another way to reach that goal. And clearly from this perspective there is not. So that seems to be the only route at the moment. Have that into here. So the only thing I can think of now to remove diffuse and put emission directly into this feed. Yeah, that's basically it. So I'm closer to the goal. So what I would do is I'll probably remove diffuse as we do not need it. Or what I could do is place diffuse into like maybe transparent. So I'll get it out of here because seriously won't need it. We'll put it here. That not like it's gonna work. So shader. I don't know if it's gonna work. I'm gonna put that in here, and then we're gonna pump this into here. I don't know if I'll switch it round. There we go. It's a bit more right. So what I'll do at this stage is switch. And then I want to go for the same kind of earth film, which is where, it fades away into the darkness. I think it's possible to do, if I haven't done it already, that is. But I'd have to lower the light bulb. But I really want the light bulb to be quite huge. Yeah, because that's now turning it back into a solid mass. So we know that this is the way here. And if this is the way, also what I might want to employ somewhere here will be we still got one of these, huh? I might try and get a what is it, Fresnel? Let's try and get a Fresnel just for a hot minute. and we will drop this into the this one. I was thinking the emission, but we try here first. Usually it's the one that you always think it is, but we'll go ahead and do it this way first. What's that done? It's done something kind of like what I want. If I grab this and come here, scale it down about here. Alright, the side of the there. And there. I click out here. And then I can get maybe looking slightly different to how it was a minute ago. Come on, hurry up. Let's see what happens once this does. And that's not really going to work. Oh wait, maybe. No, that's not going to work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and plug it into the emission. It does not really make sense. I would more think to diffuse. To diffuse the roughness. Let's see what this has done. Kind of. So you know what I could do is actually plug. I think this should work. I'll plug this into here. You might get some better results. Okay, so that's not fully working for me at the minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this for now, that is, and I'm going to get back to it later. What I could do actually is go like this, and then go like this. Anyway, that's how I go about doing my 3Ds, my 3D work. So now we've got something a bit more like that as to what we had started with. So I've got my moon, I've got my Earth, and I still got my space station. I'll get back to this a bit later on, so what I'll do is I'll save, and I'll get out of this one and open up my other project. If it's here. Now I'm not sure if you guys can see this, just bear with me a second. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so this scene is a scene that I've got drawn up in my novel. So I'm going to switch it to the open view. And this is what I've been working on thus far. I started this last night. So I've got, if I just quickly load up the novel for you guys, and then I can show you practically where I got this scene from. It's a bit bright, so I'm going to have to darken certain regions in order for us to see it a bit better. Just bear with us a second. sense. And in actual fact, this is the environment that I actually want to be working on for today. But I'm really supposed to be working on all my 3D work weekends. So the page I've got it from, I'm gonna load it up now, and then I'm gonna show you guys. Okay, just give us a second. I'll get it loaded up for you to see now. Um, okay, so you should be seeing it now. So um, the scene that I showed you from my 3D environment, as you can see, here's that point where the window is. This is actually a scene that I took from my Kindle draft copy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it in 3D so I can catch better angles at just the scroll of a mouse. Oh wait, yeah, at the scroll of a mouse. So rather than just the up and down and side, it'd be similar to like taking, I don't know, maybe give us a sec if I can find this thing. Where's 3D? There it is. It'd be similar to taking something like this, and rather than just being able to move up and down and side, we get a bit more dynamic. So now I'll be able to get shots from like this angle, and I'll be able to get shots from this angle. I'll be able to get shots from that angle, right the way down, and all the way around. And that's using that hospital scene that you can see behind. And that's the whole point of creating in my 3D platform, my 3D software. So here, as you can see, it's just a straight on image. And that's because that was the first image that was projected into my mind. And so I painted it down as it was. And so I took it from the reference that I had drawn out from, and I've now done it again. But obviously, me using the same perspective so many times over as a remastered viewed copy from what I had done before is slightly a bit boring, I would say. So I decided to put a bit more of an extra touch to it. And that is where give us a second. This thing plays out with me sometimes. Yeah, that's where this came in. So as you can see, same place, but just a different location. Different location. It's just a different angle. And the fun part about this is here is where the character that I had previously was walking. Here's where, I'm not sure if you can see my arrow system on here, but so yeah, so I was also able to put doors in into an environment that's a bit more realistic than what I had drawn up, because I drawn it from a perspective, and I kind of over exaggerated the perspective planes. So, in order to do it this way, I am now able to create. Give me a second. I'll put it onto a situation that makes it a bit easier to navigate. I'm able to. I guess for now, okay, well, I'm able to create something that gives me a bit more freedom. So if I want to, I can actually get as dynamic as possible as I want to. Um, and this is just the basic. I ain't gone to town yet, but so I've created my own doors. With these doors, I've actually done something a bit fun, which is why I was telling you about the Fresnel, but I'll bring that out in a minute. But what that does, the Fresnel or the Fresnel, is like this door, for instance, with the lights that I have in my environment. If I open up my door, I get those shadow effects. But I've got like too much lights going on at the minute. Give us a second. I decided to go a bit overboard with my lighting system. Navigate through this blue. I come here. So the other side of this door is just darkness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix how this door opens up to start this. So we'll move that one fix kind of where it is down here on the door. So what I'm going to do is my clip. There we are. And then what I'll do is I'll go to the 7th mode. And now I know roughly where the door is. So there. Yeah, no, it's not working. So, anyway, it's in the right place. So what I'll do is come to here, for instance, and probably set origin to unique cursor. And then what should happen now is I should be able to operate the door a bit more freely. It's a bit wonky, but as you can see, what happens now is due to the frame, if I'm not mistaken, or the Fresnel, is when I spin the door, I actually get that shadow effect in that kind of toon shader way, which is pretty nifty. What I was trying to do was create, which for some reason it's a bit too tricky, different shades within that. So, I mean, it kind of gets darker as it slides along, but that's not what I really wanted. I wanted there to be like a shade behind the shade behind the shade as it got darker. So before it reaches here, it all blends in before the other shades reaches the same destination as the first shade, because the first shade ultimately will get darker. But that's about the best I can get it. I was working last night on it, so I didn't want to spend too long on it. Sorry for the lag. I think it's because I'm streaming at the moment, as well as so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this mode, which makes it so much easier. And I can now navigate. So I can now draw coming through these doors. I can animate all this if I wanted to, and when I want to. I'm gonna put this is like a waiting room, so there's gonna be a door here, and a door here, so you can go and see your medic, your physician or whatever you call them, and you can be serviced. This is where that lady was saying. This bit here is a fun part. To see the benefits of this. This is also due to the ambient occlusion. So with the ambient occlusion, what I found with that one was it creates a reflective effect on my glass, which I was picking up last night. You can kind of see a reflection going on with glass, and that was due to the ambient occlusion. But you can see like a strong blue gets picked up there, and we get like a strong black. That I won't erase, and I think I would like to believe that has something simply to do with the color ramp. And now it's not there, and it's just a bit too strong shade of shadows, and so is that black. It's completely horrible, to be honest. So what I'll do is I'll come here and I'll quickly try to remove that. This is actually the scene that I want to be working on today, but I'm going to try my best not to, because here it is, color. Let's see, is this a black? Yes, it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that, and we'll put you there at speed. White is relatively cool. There's a heavy blue system that's going on. I think it's got something to do with this. There must be something set to multiply. These are set to light, and scatter. Could be the red shader, could be anything. That's going to be good samples. Could be this. Well, at the moment we're set to overlay. If I turn this to into blue, actually help to bring that up. Still getting that strong black. I think that's got something to do with this. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter, because, like for instance, if I go to my render camera, which for some reason is facing the complete wrong direction, I notice it keeps going back to that default status. But if I turn to about this angle, I can see the black as it begins to pull up, but that's like out of scene. But in scene, I'm getting the values that I want to keep. So if I come and I'll put my camera back where it's supposed to be for bleeding sakes, which is somewhere here. That could do. To help me place this correctly. Okay, so back to one more here, please. Thank you very much. And then I can see where the camera goes, which is somewhere here. Somewhere here. So now what I would do is I'll do a test render. And if the render comes up looking to a point that I'm satisfied with, I'll keep it. What I would say is that color blue that's showing on that window now, I don't like it. So that's something else that I'm going to have to try and fix. So yeah, so that's roughly what I've been working on for the last few hours. I've got through a lot of trouble shooting quickly, more quicker than I thought I would have. So I've done relatively alright there. yeah, so that's about it, guys. I guess I can show you a bit more of the 2D, and that's the render. The black kind of called up, so yeah, this needs a little bit of a rerun. I don't know how that happened because I'm pretty sure I did a render last night and I wasn't getting that. And also, well, the camera keeps going back to its default pose, which is kind of annoying. Like if I move the camera now and I'm here, that's the color it came up. It's supposed to be like a nice clear blue. Um, get like that deep tone blue, something that's clear, but I don't know what that is. But if I go back to my camera now, it's still the right. Alright, so it's in the right position. If I put it into this mode and I'm moving around like this, this way. Also, what I want to do is, as you can see here, these windows are perfect. I'll work on the shadows later. I'm working in the engine that's not as strong as the previous engine I just showed you guys earlier, which is why I'm quite surprised I'm getting a lot of lag actually. So out here, as we come walking through these doors, as you can see, this is actually my scene. I won't need to add anything else in this because I won't be showing anything else more than this, at least not for this file. But what I may do is add, like your hospital stairs that come up here, and then you'll have like another floor. But I can draw that on the floor, use these floors to replicate that, and then what I'll do is with this one, I'll just have it to where it's a floor, stairs, you've got like a little floor, walls, and you've got stairs, and you've got another stairs, and then from the stairs you go straight into like a maternity room, which is the name of my scene. Oops. So I think it's a common line through here. These will be my vent systems because this is actually in space. This is on the space station. So we'll come this way. These will be the rooms where you come to see your doctor for a more critical problems than what you usually go see your doctor for. And if I come back, what do you know? The camera stimulates mode. Oh, what do you know? It's where it's supposed to be. So anyway, I'll come out on this. I don't want to work on this now. I'll probably do it later on tonight. Get this later. And I'll show you a little bit of what I've been working on. Excuse. So over on this side, which is my 2D side, this was, is this the first draft page? No. So for anyone that hadn't been keeping up with what I've been doing, these are the first few draft pages. So I'll just flip through them now so you can have a quick look. This is how I go about planning my work, and noveling, ensuring that everything's roughly how I want it. On finalizing, you may see that I add a few things, I might even remove a few things, but it just helps me keep perspective and a direction that I can kind of stick close to. And varying from this ain't gonna take me too far away because I will, as anyone would, you commit yourself to your program, and that's the whole point of drafting. you're creating a commitment between now and the end. And then once you begin to execute, you might say to yourself, it would actually be better if this was here and this was there, you know. So, but at the end of the day, you have your commitment. You know, it's like um, presenting a marriage bond between someone. You know, you continue dating with that person, and then once that time comes for the execution of marriage, the only thing left over there is to sign your certificates. But before that point, you continue as you were. It's the same thing when you're doing your noveling or whatever it is that you're planning for, your future aspects. So this is another page. All this will be cleared up soon. But for now, so long as I know what I'm doing, it's totally fine. So we'll see much clearer and neater drawings. Everything will look a lot more smooth, a lot more realized, a lot more rendered. So this kind of stuff is what you will kind of expect, or what can be expected of. Again, some of these pictures I might slightly adjust or change slightly. Like this character here, he might slightly change, or this pose might have a little slight change to it, etc. But nothing too dramatic. That way, you're not, it's harder for you to sway too far away from your original goal or your original purpose. And the point of the commitment is sticking to what you originally put down. Otherwise, you'll find yourself constantly chasing your own tail, as it were, and no one wants to do that. So yeah, so that's roughly what I have. And so this is what I'm going to be getting on with now. I don't think I will stream. So yeah, thank you for your time, guys. Thank you for sitting by, seeing how I get through my progressions and how I successfully, in most cases, tackle problems and errors and hurdles. And hopefully, this has inspired you guys, and you'll be able to continue in the same fashion that I have. So anyway, have a nice one, guys, and keep safe out there.